clean speech, no bad language.
Say whatever you want.
Oh shit!
Yeah, exactly. That's going in there.
Oh
Okay.
no.
So here is this is just a little summary of the game itself with some of the. It's got the resolution mechanics there, so you can refer to them.
Oh,
this
nice.
is our little introductory player sheet.
Yep.
Now you are playing in this game. You're playing a stalker.
Oh.
A stalker comes from any period of human history up through the near future, and in any location on Earth. And so you are a dead person. You died in the defense of others against unnamed horrors, and have chosen to continue to be a champion for reality. Because the problem is that the great aesthetics who metaphysically make the universe go, they sometimes try to become part of reality, and they only cause trouble. That just goes badly. And so then when that happens, if a mortal calls for help, then a band of stalkers convenes to try to capture the rebel aesthetic, the troublemaker. So with that in place, each of us is going to get, what I did, okay, is I grabbed these pictures just from the internet. Now, you don't exist, your stalker does not exist in a society. You don't have a job, you don't live day to day. Actually, what you do is you have a little bubble called your domain, which is your own little mystic spot that's sort of your happy place, or you're probably not very happy, but your psychological space. You know, if you were a scholar type character, then maybe you live in like this endless library that just loops around itself, or something like that. And so, therefore, and you look like the essential version of yourself, probably expressing some element of your past traumas or some element of your past life, but it is a very philosophical being now. And that's how you will look, and how stalkers will look to each other, and how certain other beings will see you. But when you take on the flesh, on a hunt, then other people, ordinary people, will see you as is appropriate for whatever it is you are doing, or how you present yourself, or what they expect, things like that.
So if we do an adventure in China, I will be a Chinese.
Exactly. And perhaps, for example, say your character is very warrior-like, then you would be like a guard, or a warrior, or a general, or something. Depending,
so
yeah.
You look according to purpose. So, for example, if I took along solely for the purpose of charming myself into places, then I would be an attractive woman.
Exactly.
While if I'm tagged along solely for the purpose of providing information, I would look like an old sage.
That's right.
Okay.
Right. And so it also has a little bit to do with expectation and circumstances.
Does this shift over time as we do different pieces?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
Different hunts are in different places and times.
we're essentially shapeshifters, right?
Well, but you are not, but not to yourselves.
No.
Okay, no, but what I meant was
It's only the perceptions.
Right.
So essentially, if
but
there's
we
two
keep-
people in the room, one that is naive and one that's paranoid, the paranoid might see us as a shady character that's ready
Partly,
to...
yes. Partly. There's
Is
some
it like the movie R.I.P.D.? They are people who are dead, and then they come back and fight the undead or something like that.
Something like that.
And then when people see them, I think one of them is an old man, another one is a
we
hot girl.
still see each other
Absolutely.
in our assessment.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
No, my question was that we go out on, I'm sorry, we call them
Hunt.
hunts.
Mhm.
Do we keep the same shape throughout the entire hunt? Is the question.
No, you don't.
Okay, so we.
So you move to a new scene, and you will get along in that scene.
Yes.
Of course, you may be arriving in that scene as something that people are violent about, but it will make sense. So you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to. If you might have to worry about it if you start doing some really extreme things. You see, you're trying to keep reality together. So if you start breaking what is called the veil and the forbiddance, then you're being as bad a problem almost as this aesthetic. So there's a certain limit to what you can do, but it's pretty broad. Mortals have a way of rationalizing things. Reality is a certain resilience that can kind of repair situations.
Could that choice lead that the other players will go on a hunt? your character.
Conceivably that could happen, but the game is not mechanically built to go there necessarily.
No, but
So
it's a possibility.
Yes,
Slight possibility.
Correct. Now there are other ones too. There are ways for you to give up your role as a stalker eventually. There are ways to do that too. But these are long-term questions. More concretely, we have, and more immediately relevant, you will be faced with a situation where one of these beings has made themselves manifest in reality. They're bad at it. They need to steal flesh to build themselves a body or to get a host that they have taken over. They need blood, they need energy, they are psychotic when they arrive, all sorts of things.
It's like the thing.
Right. Now, well, that's a very good example of what it would be like for a beginning version. If they last a long time, they undergo a developmental process, and you don't want to eat one of the old ones.
Can they turn into a de facto human who looks like a human and therefore is very good at hiding?
As an architect, they become much better at integrating with reality, but destroying it all more quickly. So it's yeah, that, as I say, there's the beast, the stranger, and the architect. And they present very differently, and they have very different mechanics. And so it's not like necessarily you would start with a beast. Your first might be against an architect. Who knows? That would just mean it has been there for a very long time. So then you have the real problem though is that its very presence is destroying reality and changing the laws of how reality works, and never for the better, and people are suffering. It has a terrible negative effect on people. So you not only should capture the rebel, if you can, and bind it. The big job is to mend the enigma, the corruption that has occurred to reality. That's actually the most important thing you need to do. If you have a choice between the two, go after the enigma. Let the thing escape.
Is it possible to join?
I would love you to. Yeah. Looks like that's awesome. Yeah. Before we could not find anybody yet. Now, yes. You have chosen some pictures, okay? And then you see I had brought 4 player characters, so I'm quite happy about this. So any one of these could be used, but I will give you. I built them slightly differently. This one is the most savage, the combat specialist of the 4 characters. So then this one is built to be much more about insight and presence, and has many little demonic servitors. Ooh. And then this one is a master of reality, can teleport, shapeshift, walk through things, communicate telepathically with the other stalkers, very much a master of matter. And then over here, we have a somewhat more, this is a very centered character. Most of the attributes are about the same, and has very strong basic investigative abilities, and very good solid basic attack and defense. So this is kind of your...
He's a normal guy.
This is the meat and potatoes stalker.
Yeah.
So if anybody has a preference, grab one.
I like meat
Was
and
this
potatoes.
Okay.
Was this the
Combat.
Combat?
Yeah.
This is the
Servitor.
servitor?
No, yeah, he made his little noise. Maybe he gets that one.
well, the Ching.
This one
Because
basically
I was
described all
pending
how
between the two.
Oh, there you go.
others.
Yeah, then I'm the combat one.
And so what?
I feel like Dracula. See, I am so Dracula right now.
Excellent. So so people have chosen, and we are keeping these. We're not using those. Is that right? Okay. And so there is something you still need to do. You have 5 keys of humanity, and these are what keep you able to come back to the flesh. They make you vulnerable because, unlike most creatures, if you destroy them, and creatures of essence, if you destroy them, they will simply go back into the realm of essence. You can die because you are still wedded to the flesh through your keys of humanity. So then you will, one of them, okay, they are emotions, or they are maybe a concept, or a passion of some kind, and just one word is fine for each. And one of them must be compassion. Your characters do care about the well-being of mortals. But all the others, you see, your character probably spent their whole lives, or a great deal of their lives originally, fighting against these things, but you were mortal, so eventually you were killed in this service, and now you are chosen to live on, or to exist onwards. So this is your essential self, and you will appear on a hunt normally for that place and time. When you go on a hunt, it will be at a certain time in Earth's history and a place, and you don't care which. You know that you will look normal for them, to everybody else. So
We have to fix the place.
right,
Fix the
you have
time.
to
The reality.
we have had the little discussion of the situation already, but so I try to summarize it here in English. Probably something else happened.
It works for me.
Okay. The point is that you will choose where you lived when you were mortal and what historical period.
So like Renaissance.
Right. Anything up to the near future if you want. So if you want to come from the next century from now, you could.
How far back?
How far back? Infinite. Prehistory.
4.5 billion years ago.
Well, you must you must have been a human.
Okay, so
But-
Homo sapiens sapien.
Not Homo erectus.
And
So-
tell me a little bit about you need to have your 5 keys and make up a folk. Tell me when and where your character came from, and then pick a skill that's appropriate for that. And you will come up with your own name for the stalker, but it's not your mortal name.
No.
This is what they call you now.
All right.
It's it goes with your essential self.
When did they get that name? They got that name when they. Did they
Effectively
die?
when they died, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, did they die or did something else happen to make them stop?
They,
No, they died.
they died, but unlike most people, they persisted in their mission
Because
they are just that motivated.
Are we going to write down the backgrounds too? Or?
Only just a place and a basic idea,
Yep.
perhaps, but just a few words, nothing big.
So if I get it right, the first focus skills is the place.
No.
Where you were from.
No, you will just say what that is, and then you will choose. For example, let's say that you say your character was a duelist in Florence during the Renaissance, right?
Yeah.
Then you might put something like, who knows? Maybe you could say, dueling in terms of a particular way to fight, or you could. I'm thinking of a particular historical duelist who was also a jeweler, so perhaps jewelry or something. But whatever fits for the character, whatever you'd like. Go ahead. Don't take too much time.
No.
This is something you do quickly and easily.
Ooh.
I will go.
Realization of decision.
Writing.
Yeah.
Where?
I just,
Anyway, you have a big space down there.
When did the American Civil War end?
1865.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I can't remember the time. I'm thinking about Alexander, the conqueror.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Three,
you know the time.
3-6 something. If I don't. No, 3-2-1 or something. That's when he died or something like that. BC.
And then we write about the skill.
Yes. Then just choose a skill. Think about what your character did. Were they a ruler or something? And then write the skill that works for them.
And it can be anything that is appropriate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh dear God.
Don't be paralyzed. Obvious is better.
Obvious.
Now, to let you know a little bit more about the terminology of the game, the being, and you missed a little bit of this, the beings who make the universe go sometimes want to come to reality to be part of it. They're really bad at it and they cause a lot of trouble. And your job as stalkers is to travel to that place and time where this is happening and to mend the damage they have done to reality. It has a name, it's called the enigma, and you have to figure out what's wrong with reality there and find the focus of it and repair reality. Catching the being is also good. It's called the unbidden in this state. The trouble is that it's usually disguised itself badly or well as a person, and you have to go and combat it and bind it. You have to reveal it in its real state first and defeat it that way before you can. So, but if you have to choose between the jobs, men's the enigma. That's the biggest problem.